Yay!
Yay! All right. We are here at Madco Lab Studio, like Jake, our voiceover artist, said. I'm Mohney, the editor of the Huckleberry Press. And what is happening here at live at Madco Lab Studios is the Spokane Small Business and Entrepreneurs Networking Group. So we've got about 45 people that are here, all networking and building business and building community and collaborating. It's totally awesome and fun. I love coming here. It's kind of like going to college. And we're going to talk to Shaneese Dunigan of Courage to Grow Farms, and we're going to speak later with Gati Nakario, visual artist and painter. Yeah. So good to have you, Shaneese.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about what your business is. So why don't you introduce yourself, where you live, and the name of your business?
Okay. I am Shaneese Dunigan with Courage to Grow Farms, and we are located in Lamont, Washington, which is about 45 minutes outside of Spokane. And we deliver veggies fresh to your doorstep or convenient locations. We partner with businesses here in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene.
Right on.
Thanks.
And I'm curious, because I saw you speak at Founders Live, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But you talked at Founders Live about regenerative farming. So how long have you been doing what you're doing now? And what's your intention with your business?
We quit our jobs in 2019 to start farming. Never had a garden. We just asked around for leased land, and we originally started on 4 plots in Spokane, and then that was a little bit hectic, but it was successful our first year, so we were excited. And then our second year, it was 2020, and we were able to lease one portion of land, a couple acres, and then that was also successful, and now we finally own land. But in 2020, we had been working with schools, restaurants, all the things that shut down, and so we needed to go direct to consumer. So we started a veggie delivery program, and now we are at the point where we feel like we might not be the experts, but we could be great teachers in our area for regenerative farming. And so our goal moving forward is to still create a farm, but teach farmers and try to allow them to, one, build tiny homes with us, sustainable off-grid tiny homes, and then they will have the opportunity to live, work, be on the land without the barriers. Like when we started farming, water was a barrier, land was a barrier, seeds, knowledge, all of these things were just like, okay, took a lot of courage. And so being able to aid people in getting going with a farm and learning how to farm, and then possibly allowing them to come back to Spokane and to our urban areas and farm some of those plots that we already previously farmed. And there's 10 willing participants in the Spokane area.
Wow.
That are ready to give up their land so that people can farm. So if we can train more farmers, we could be local, really local. And
why do you want to train more farmers?
Well, the average farmer is 57 in America. So farmers are aging out, and it's important to start the next wave, or else we won't have an efficient food system. And we can farm on a couple acres. We can farm enough for thousands of people. So about 200 families. We can produce on 2 acres. So if in town people could farm an acre every so many blocks or every so often, then we would effectively create locality here, and then take away from supply chain barriers, right? We have all these supply chain barriers. We can't get eggs. We can't get this. Well, if people would invest here, then we would have eggs here. So working with grant writers to create funding for, if say Val wants to be an egg farmer, well, here's the funding to create your own egg production facility regeneratively, and then teach farmers how to do that, and teach farmers how to farm a lot of food on a little bit of land and make a very small, our carbon footprint is very we're efficient, I guess you should say. I
Yeah.
guess you could say, just the way we farm is unlike anything that I've seen, and it keeps the topsoil and all of those important things. So yeah.
Well, it seems like you're developing an entire business that you're bit by bit turning into a movement. But what I thought I heard you say was that you had never farmed before.
Yeah.
So, what was it in 2019 that had you turn the corner from being not a farmer to a farmer?
So I was a personal assistant, 9 to 5. My spouse was working on the Macy's building as construction, 9 to 5. We didn't want to be 9 to 5ers anymore. We were really passionate about growing things. We had started microgreens in our little duplex, and we like sold out. Like as soon as I went to restaurants, they were like, "Yes, let's do." And so we were like, "Okay, maybe let's do microgreens." And we started microgreens, and then we were like, "Maybe let's farm it." And there was a book, and the book laid out exactly how to farm. It's called The Urban Farmer by Curtis Stone. And he said he had started in his own yard, plowed out the front. Then, the neighbor was like, "Hey, that looks great. You want to, take over my yard?" And soon enough, he had taken over a bunch of farms and a bunch of yards in his neighborhood and created a sustainable business. And so we read that book, and it laid out the tools, how much land you would need to cover our revenue at the time. So we were like, okay, if we just can cover the revenue, and let's try it. And you only needed a quarter acre at that time to like cover our revenue that we were making between both of us working. And it was successful the first year. We just like went out there with the book, like, okay, plant, X amount of beets, use this seeder. And later I would work with our co-ops, and they knew we were new, but I would work with our co-ops and I'd say, well, they'd say, do you have 50 bunches of beets? And I'd go out there and go, okay, well, it says if I planted, this many feet, then I'm gonna have 50 bunches. Yeah, I do. And then um, it worked. It was just marvelous. So then we decided, okay, this is a working model. Let's move forward with it. And by doing that, we learned so many things. I've been on the Spokane Food Policy Council and members of other co-ops, and all the learning experience has led us to the realization that we need more farmers. And it's so important that people start farming, and especially not necessarily the next generation, like my generation, but we also work with schools to teach to teach farming, and then also like culinary. So that's kind of what sparked it. I also was a chef,
Oh,
so
wow.
that was I came to Spokane. I lived in Spokane, moved to Bellevue, became a chef, and came back. And I was like, wow, the food here, it's gotten better. It has. No offense to all of my like restaurant friends, but um, yeah, I mean, it just was kind of poor. 10 years ago, I came back and was like, wow, the food could really improve here. And we worked directly with farmers, and even some of the farmers would rent out the rooftops. And I'm like, there's got to be something here, and sure enough, there is. There's a good future for farming.
I like your model because I have it like if I'm going to be a farmer, I have to have dozens of acres and thousands of acres and machinery and combines and all kinds of
Hmm.
things. And you're doing it on small plots of land. So is that the regenerative farming? What is regenerative
Well,
farming?
yeah, so regenerative farming is leaving the biological matter in the soil. So if we harvest lettuce, we leave the roots in the soil and we plant next to that the next harvest. It regenerative is a lot of things. One, increasing the biodiversity, but also carbon sequestration through like using things like called biochar. We cook wood a certain way, and biochar helps absorb a lot of water and retain water, so we use a lot less water. The way that we irrigate is different than most farmers, so we use a lot of drip irrigation, and we're able to farm a lot on a little bit of water as well. And then just all organic methods. And so a weed presents itself where there's disturbed soil that needs something. So comfrey will come in and it's there to
Take over.
yeah, it's there to heal the soil. So the theory behind some of our growing practices is take the comfrey, cut the comfrey, put it in, we make a compost tea, and then we take that compost tea and we spray it where the comfrey was, because what the soil is telling us is that it needs the nutrients that are in the comfrey. So growing with zero pesticides, zero synthetic fertilizers, I mean, that's considered a fertilizer, but zero, no synthetic fertilizer, and increasing the biodiversity in the soil, which then increases the nutrient density in your food, and it regenerates the earth at the same time, where conventional farming hurts the topsoil pretty bad. I think we've all heard about
Depletes it.
depleting our topsoil, and so regenerative farming doesn't do that at all.
I'm so impressed that reading a book in 2019 and now you're an agricultural expert. You need to start your own podcast. I mean, you have so much to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've thought about that, like even just going and talking to all of our other farm friends. We were able to sort of mentor 5 other farmers to grow into the winter as well. So this was an idea. Someone came to me with funding, and they said, "Hey, can you do something to create a program for farmers that they do something cool?" And I'm like, "Well, we really wanted to try growing in the winter. It sounds crazy, but we think if we had a microgreens person, and if we could get the infrastructure to grow in the winter, and other people could." Someone else did eggs, and someone else did squash, which is a storage crop, and someone else did some other storage crops. And so all of us combined created this beautiful box that went back to underserved communities in our first year, because we didn't know if it was going to work. So I told the person with the funding, I said, "Well, I don't know if the idea is going to work, but if we could create locality all year long in Spokane, then we could have markets here and other things could happen." And so to be able to go to those farmers and create a sort of a podcast and talk to those other farmers, because they all do something so cool and so different, and a lot of them are this sort of micro regenerative organic. We don't use the term organic because of regulatory purposes. To say that your food is organic is different than to say it's organically grown, but we think that we're like beyond organic. It's way beyond organic. We don't use anything additional, And so to have a podcast would be cool. We're busy. We're really busy farming.
I bet. Like
it's March, and I'm like, wow, really?
Like you don't have enough to do.
Yeah.
We have like a minute left.
Cool.
And before we go, you recently won something. So could you explain in Reader's Digest form what Founders Live is and what you did and what it means?
Okay, Founders Live is a pitch competition worldwide that you get 99 seconds to pitch. And then after that, 5 people get 99 seconds to pitch, and then 4 minutes of question and answer after that. So you really have to define your pitch, and then the audience votes, and I happen to win. And my model was training the next wave of farmers. I mean, essentially, in a nutshell, is if we could train the next wave of farmers, we could change a lot of things.
Congratulations on winning.
Thanks.
You're a Founders Live winner for Spokane, and that means that you get to go to another Founders Live event, right?
Yeah, I'll pitch, I think nationwide. I believe that's what it is. So
you have to go.
I'll go against
someplace?
Whoever won in the other Founders Lives. I don't know. I haven't gotten the entire next steps, but I'm part of the next competition, I guess. So it's exciting.
So exciting.
It is.
And I know I already brought it up, but again, you read a book in 2019, and now you're winning Founders Live and prestige and help. And
yeah, and we always knew we had to have the courage to grow farms. It was never going to be. We were never going to make our farm the biggest or the largest. We knew we wanted and needed to grow other farmers. So if you're interested, check us out. CourageToGrowFarms.com.
Say that again.
CourageToGrowFarms.com, and we're on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you, Shaneese.
Thank you.
Congratulations.